Hi, I'm Megan McLaughlin, I'm a writer and I'm here with Vivian French at the Edinburgh Book Festival. Could you tell us a bit about the Cherry Pie Princess?
The Cherry Pie Princess is a story about a princess, Princess Peony, and she's the youngest of 7 sisters, and her older sisters are typical, boring, difficult, tricky princesses, and she's different. And she discovers that she has unfortunately been responsible for a librarian being thrown into a dungeon for speaking out of turn, and so she has to rescue him.
How did you create a character like Princess Peony?
Peony is very much based on the friend of one of my daughters, and she was a very feisty girl. I have to say she was always getting into trouble, but she's now just qualified as a lawyer, so she's obviously got a real good head on her. And I think, I was saying to the children this morning, she's the sort of girl I would have loved to have been, but wasn't. I mean, she can make a rope ladder out of a party dress and scale down from a bedroom window. I would never have dared to do anything like that.
Standing up for people is a big challenge for Princess Peony. Why did you want to explore that challenge in your book?
I think it's very important to stand up for the underdog and to stand up for people who have been unfairly treated. One of my daughters was known for that when she was at school. She was always standing up for people. And I did a little bit, but not as much as I would have liked to have done. So that I decided to give that to Peony instead.
The idea of a librarian being arrested for helping a reader is pretty scary. Why did you want to explore that in your newest book?
The story started because I went to a library in the north of England, and the librarian was very, very sad when I arrived. And I said, "Why? What's wrong?" And she said, "They're going to close my library down." And that was what made me think of writing a story about a librarian. And I decided that it would make a good storyline if people, because in the old days you weren't allowed to speak in a library. When I was little you had to whisper. And I thought speaking out of turn in a library would give a good story, a story plot.
Many of your books are really beautifully illustrated. What difference do you feel illustrations make to your books?
Oh, I love illustration. I teach illustration at the Edinburgh College of Art, and I really, really like working with illustrations and illustrators. And I think they give the book a depth and a magic, and they help people's imagination. I mean, we all imagine the worlds that we read about, but it's lovely to be able to actually see the pictures and I still remember books with pictures that I read when I was very, very little.
You've written over 270 books. How does that feel?
I don't really think about them, I suppose, except if I'm thinking of a new story and I think, have I already done that? And I try and make things really, really different. And some of them, I mean, I'm very old. So some of them I wrote a very long time ago. So I do revisit a certain type of character maybe. I think that idea about standing up for the underdog is something that I do go back to in different books.
Obviously you have loads of ideas. How do you pick which one to write about next?
I think sometimes I pick the wrong ones, and I start writing a story and it just goes pear-shaped. And I think one of the things is that you have to have an idea of where you're going. I like to think that I've got some kind of ending in mind before I start writing, so that I knew with Princess Peony and Cherry Pie Princess, I knew that I had to get the library back and I had to get the librarian reinstated. So it was a question of how I did that in the course of the book.
What kind of stories did you enjoy reading when you were younger? Do you think they have had an impact on the stories that you write now?
Oh, I'm sure they did. And in fact, I did read a lot when I was younger, but what was really special for me was my dad reading out loud to me. He read to me every single night before I went to bed until I was about, I guess probably about 13. And he read fairy stories and folk tales and all different kinds of books. And I'm sure they really, really affected me very deeply. And he loved reading out loud. And I was an actor for a long time, and I think it's because he always used to read with different voices. And I've done Cherry Pie actually as an audio, and I was able to do all the voices.
What advice do you have for a young writer or illustrator who wants to create books but doesn't know where to start?
Oh, I always say read, 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 read. The more you read, the more you absorb the way that people structure sentences, put words together. I also always say, when you're writing, read it out loud, because then you can hear the cadence and whether it sounds good, because I think writing should sound good on the tongue, if you like. I also say always start with a feeling. Think of a feeling, think who has it, why do they have it, how are they going to feel at the end of the story, and then put the things together.
And what's the most important thing you've learned as a writer?
I think, what's the most important thing? I don't know. Have fun. Enjoy it. If I don't enjoy it, why would anybody else enjoy it? Why would they enjoy reading it? So I think you have to enjoy what you're doing, even if you're writing something really, really terrible. You have to have some kind of commitment in doing it.
Thank you very much for talking with us.